The gravel crunched under Eli's boots as he stopped at the edge of the old Mercer property, the evening mist curling around the rusted gate like ghostly fingers. The air tasted of pine, rain, and memory. 2 decades had turned the house into a monument of silence, its windows veiled by vines, its porch sagging like a tired sigh. Yet, beneath the damp decay, something pulsed, the faint hum of life where there should be none. Eli's hand trembled as he turned the knob. The door yielded without resistance. The scent of roasted meat and baked bread struck him first, impossibly fresh, warm, human. The table was set for 4. Steam rose from the plates, as though time had forgotten to move forward. He froze, hearing a chair creak softly in the dining room, followed by the distant laughter of a child echoing from somewhere deep within the house he thought he buried with his past. The air thickened as Eli moved deeper into the house, every step echoing through the hollow corridors like footsteps chasing his own. The smell of dinner still lingered, but now it carried something sour beneath it, rot hiding under warmth. The wallpaper whispered faintly as if sighing from beneath the years of silence. His eyes caught fragments of the past scattered like breadcrumbs. His father's pipe still resting on the mantel, his mother's rosary coiled neatly beside it, Lila's school shoes placed near the stairs, their small size almost mocking the emptiness above. He called out. Once, twice, and the echo came back, not as his own, but softer, smaller. Eli, the voice was unmistakable. Lila's frozen mid-breath, he turned toward the staircase, where the air shimmered faintly with warmth. The sound of a fork clattering on porcelain echoed from the dining room behind him, though he knew he hadn't touched a thing. A childhood memory flickered across his mind. Laughter, arguments, the crash. He whispered her name again, and somewhere between the walls, the house answered. Eli placed one hand on the banister, feeling the wood's chill bleed through his skin. The staircase groaned under his weight, as though resenting his return. Halfway up, the air thickened with whispers, soft, layered, and familiar. He heard his mother humming a hymn, his father's low murmur of disapproval, and Lila's laughter, bright as summer sunlight. Each sound came from a different direction, overlapping like a memory, refusing to settle. He paused when the scent of lavender drifted down the hallway. Grace's perfume, followed by the faint creak of his parents' bedroom door opening on its own. A dim glow pulsed from inside, rhythmic and steady like a heartbeat. Eli's reflection in the upstairs mirror blurred, rippling as if submerged underwater. The laughter stopped. Then from the end of the hall, a small voice called his name again, closer this time, trembling with a mixture of innocence and sorrow. Eli, we've been waiting for you. The house went utterly still. The silence so deep it seemed alive. Eli's fingers brushed the half-open door, and it swung inward without a sound. The air inside felt warmer, heavier, steeped in the scent of lavender, candle wax, and time standing still. His mother's room was exactly as he remembered it, every object untouched, yet impossibly fresh. The bedspread was smooth except for the indentation of 2 bodies, as if someone had just risen moments before his arrival. The soft tick of an unseen clock echoed beneath the walls, steady and slow, syncing with the pounding of his pulse. On the nightstand rested a cup of tea, still steaming faintly, next to a Bible open to the Book of Job. He whispered her name, Mom, and for a moment the curtains swayed gently, though the windows were closed. A faint reflection rippled in the vanity mirror. A silhouette behind him, blurred but distinctly feminine. He turned quickly, but the room was empty. Only the whisper of silk remained, brushing the air like a farewell that refused to end. Eli froze as a faint shadow slipped beneath the doorway, small, quick, unmistakably human. a child's silhouette, vanishing just as he blinked. The sound of light footsteps drifted down the hallway, rhythmic and playful, echoing from the end where Lila's bedroom waited, untouched for 20 years. His heart hammered as he stepped toward it, each stride heavier than the last. The door creaked open on its own, revealing a room preserved in perfect stillness. Drawings taped to the walls. A single stuffed rabbit, propped neatly on the pillow. The faint scent of crayons lingering in the air. Moonlight pooled across the floor, pale and cold. Then, the faint scratch of pencil on paper. Eli turned toward her old desk, where a sheet of fresh paper lay, a handprint pressed faintly into the dust beside it, small and childlike. Slowly, words began to appear on the page, written by no visible hand. "You never came back for us." The sound of a soft laugh followed, gentle, sorrowful, and close enough to touch. The night pressed closer, and the house felt smaller with every breath Eli took. He stood in Lila's room listening to silence first, then to something beyond silence. A distant murmur. The clink of cutlery. His father's voice, calm and commanding. His mother's gentle reply. The sound grew clearer with each heartbeat, until the air itself seemed to vibrate with memory. He turned toward the hallway, and as he stepped through the door, the temperature shifted. Warmer. Alive. The house was no longer abandoned. Faint light spilled from the dining room, and he could hear Lila's laughter, high and bright, overlapping with his mother's soft hum. The sound was so real it pulled tears to his eyes. He reached the doorway and froze. Through the shimmer of time, his family sat before him. Not ghosts, but living moments, trapped in the rhythm of their last supper. Eli's breath caught as he watched them. They didn't notice him, didn't react when he whispered their names. Their words carried through the air like a half-remembered melody. Fragments of old conversations, the echo of laughter that had died long ago. Thomas spoke about the storm coming, his tone steady but laced with unease. Grace teased him softly, telling him to eat while the food was warm. Lila asked when Eli would be home. The question froze him. He was standing right there, and yet his mother simply said, "He'll come when he's ready." The words hit him like a wound reopened. He stepped closer, voice shaking. "I'm here." But the sound passed through them like wind through leaves. Their conversation continued, untouched by time. A recording of the night before everything fell apart. He moved closer, compelled by a desperate need to belong again. The air shimmered as he neared the table, every sound sharp and clear. The scrape of a fork, the hum of his mother's lullaby under her breath. He reached toward Lila's shoulder, but his hand passed straight through her. The sensation was cold, electric, pulling a gasp from his throat. He stumbled back, the illusion flickering like a candle in the wind. Thomas's voice grew distorted, echoing from the walls instead of his lips. "Don't drive tonight," Grace said suddenly, her voice trembling. Eli's stomach dropped. He remembered that moment. The argument had started just before the crash. He whispered, "Please don't go." But the past ignored him, trapped in its endless repetition, bound by the moment he could never undo. The house trembled faintly as thunder rolled outside. Eli could feel the pressure of the storm pressing against the windows. Grace rose from the table to light another candle, her movements slow, graceful, until her reflection in the window didn't follow. Eli saw it, her reflection staring back at him, not her family. It blinked once, then smiled. A sad, knowing smile. He turned toward the real Grace, but she was laughing again, unchanged. The reflection mouthed words he couldn't hear, then faded into the dark glass. A chill ran through him. The illusion had cracks, and the truth was bleeding through them. The voices that once felt comforting now sounded rehearsed, sentences replaying in endless cycles. The dinner wasn't memory. It was a trap. The thunder grew louder, shaking the glassware. The illusion faltered, sound warping and looping. "Hell, come back," Grace's voice repeated again and again, her tone hollow, her smile fixed in place. "Hell, come back." Eli clutched his head, whispering, "Stop." But the voices overlapped. A storm of words crashing down on him. "Hell, come back. He'll come back. He'll come back." Hell, silence. The candles extinguished themselves, one by one. Only the clock ticked backward in the dark. From the shadowed hallway came a single sound, the echo of a child humming softly, the tune rising from somewhere deeper in the house. Eli turned toward it, tears running down his face, and whispered, "Lila?" The humming stopped. Then, softly, it answered, "You're late." Eli took a hesitant step into the dining room, his body trembling between terror and longing. The air was thick with warmth, roasted meat, buttered bread, laughter that felt almost real. He reached toward his mother's shoulder, but his fingers passed through her like smoke. She didn't turn. None of them did. They moved with uncanny rhythm, repeating every gesture from that final dinner long ago. His father cutting the roast, his mother smiling through quiet tension, Lila drawing on her napkin with a stub of pencil. It was all exactly as he remembered. The sound of their conversation overlapped his heartbeat, looping phrases, echoing laughter, and the unspoken weight of something that was about to break. He sat down in his old seat. For the first time, the chair creaked beneath him. He touched the food. It was warm, solid, alive. The illusion invited him in like a memory eager to forgive. But when he blinked, the clock on the wall behind them began to tick backward, and the laughter faltered into silence. Eli's pulse slowed. For the first time in 20 years, he felt warmth. Not fear, not emptiness, but belonging. He laughed softly, a fragile sound that didn't belong in the room. His family carried on as if the night were alive again, voices layered with ordinary peace. His father's words drifted through the air, firm but kind. "You'll learn, son. You'll understand." His mother nodded, smiling without meeting his eyes. The illusion was perfect, too perfect. He raised his fork and took a bite. The food was warm, tender, comforting, until the taste shifted. A sourness crept in, metallic, cold. He forced himself to swallow, his throat tightening. When he looked down, the food had changed. The chicken raw, the bread blackened, the gravy the color of dried blood. The clock struck backward once, the candles dimmed, and Lila's laughter warped into a distorted echo of itself. He stumbled back from the table, his chair scraping across the floor with a sound too sharp, too real. The laughter stopped completely. The silence that followed felt conscious, like the house itself was waiting for his next breath. He turned toward the doorway, but it was gone. The walls had shifted, closing him in. His father's voice spoke again, quieter now, distorted by time. "You shouldn't have left us, Eli." The candles flared suddenly, flooding the room in red gold light. Eli's heart thundered as he shouted back, "You're not real." But the air answered with his own voice, echoing in perfect mimicry. The ground beneath the table trembled faintly, and the silverware began to rattle. He looked down. His reflection in the wine glass was not his own. It was younger, frightened. The boy he used to be, frozen on the night. Everything went wrong. Eli stumbled to the window, gasping for air. But when he looked outside, there was nothing. No forest, no sky, just endless fog pressing against the glass. His hands trembled as he touched it, and for a brief second, warmth spread beneath his palm, the shape of another hand pressing back from the other side. "Lila," he whispered. Her voice drifted from behind him, calm and clear. You came back too late, he turned. She stood by the table now, real and small and heartbreakingly alive, holding the same sketchbook she once carried everywhere. The pages fluttered, though the air was still. She smiled faintly, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You forgot us, she said softly. The room around her began to pulse with dull light, the air rippling with sorrow. We waited at dinner. We waited and waited. Her voice cracked, splintering into echoes that crawled up the walls. Eli fell to his knees, choking on the air, on guilt, on memory. He reached for her, but Lila stepped back, her outline fading slightly. You left, she whispered. You said you'd come right back, but you never did. The realization hit him with the weight of truth. He saw it, the night of the accident, his anger, the shouting, the slammed door, his parents driving off to find him. His absence had set it all in motion. The room dimmed as though absorbing his confession. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked into nothing. Lila's eyes softened, though her face remained pale and distant. It's not too late, she said, but the house won't let you leave until you tell it all. The final candle flickered and died, plunging the room into darkness. Only the glow of her sketchbook remained, a heartbeat of light, pulsing in the dark. The house groaned as though waking from a long sleep. The sound of shifting wood echoed through the walls, soft and rhythmic, almost like breathing. Eli rose slowly, his knees trembling beneath him. Lila had vanished, but the faint glow from her sketchbook lingered, leading toward the hallway. He followed it, each step stirring dust from the carpet, the air thick with the scent of candle smoke and rain. The voices began again, layered whispers that seemed to come from every wall. His father's stern tone, his mother's gentle pleading, Lila's laughter woven through them all. But now, beneath the sound, another voice murmured, one he didn't recognize, deep and resonant, speaking his name in a tone that carried both invitation and warning. He turned sharply, but nothing was there. The glow pulsed once more, pointing toward the basement door, the one that was always locked. Eli knelt before the basement door, brushing dust from the old iron latch. It was warm to the touch, impossibly warm. He pressed his ear against the wood and heard faint movement below. Footsteps, perhaps, or the slow scrape of something heavy being dragged across concrete. The whispering stopped. Silence settled in, deep and deliberate. Then, 3 knocks, soft, measured from the other side. He stepped back, heart hammering. He whispered. No reply. Just the sound of his pulse roaring in his ears. Gathering what little courage he had left, he turned the latch. The door opened on its own with a slow sigh, exhaling a breath of cold, damp air that smelled of earth and rust. The darkness below pulsed faintly, like something alive, waiting. The stairs creaked under Eli's weight as he descended, each step deeper pulling him further from the world above. The air grew colder, denser. A metallic tang of decay and rainwater filled his lungs. Halfway down, he heard breathing that wasn't his own. Slow, steady, wet. He froze, straining to listen, then continued downward. The basement opened into a small, low-ceilinged room lined with shelves of rotted wood. In the center stood a table covered with old family items, a broken radio, a cracked photo frame, a child's shoe. The glow from Lila's sketchbook rested upon the table, pages fluttering gently despite the still air. Eli reached for it, but before his fingers touched the cover, the radio crackled to life. His father's voice came through, faint, distorted, but unmistakable. You left us, Eli. The sound twisted into static, then into a single scream that echoed off the walls. Eli grabbed the radio and hurled it against the wall, shattering it. The silence that followed rang louder than sound. Then a faint tapping began beneath the floor. Steady, deliberate, rhythmic. He knelt and brushed away dust, revealing a patch of concrete darker than the rest. The tapping grew louder. His hands trembled as he searched for a tool, finally finding a rusted crowbar among the debris. As he pried at the edge, the concrete cracked, releasing a slow breath of cold air that smelled like rain and metal and old sorrow. Beneath the crumbling floor lay something wrapped in fabric, the faint outline of a human form. Eli's breath hitched. He whispered, "No," and the darkness answered in his father's voice, "We never left, son." The figure beneath the floor twitched once. Eli tore at the fabric, coughing through the dust, his eyes burning. Inside the bundle lay 3 small skeletons. Fragments of bone, strands of hair still clinging to skulls, remnants of clothing that once belonged to his mother, father, and sister. His vision blurred as horror and understanding crashed together. The crash hadn't killed them instantly. They'd been trapped when the car rolled into the flooded ditch, their bodies brought back and buried here by him. A teenage boy desperate to erase what he'd caused. He fell back, gasping. "I buried you," he whispered, choking on the words. "I thought I could forget." The air shifted. Lila's voice rose again, soft and forgiving. "We never wanted revenge, Eli. We just wanted you to remember." The glow from the sketchbook brightened, filling the basement with silver light, until the bones turned to ash and the room itself began to tremble. The white glow faded, leaving Eli kneeling in near darkness. His breath came shallow, uneven. The house was silent again, too silent. Then came the soft creak of floorboards above him, slow and measured, as if footsteps moved through memory. He turned toward the staircase. The faint scent of lavender drifted down, mingling with the cold earth and dust. He whispered, "Mom?" And the answer came, a quiet voice, gentle but distant. "Come upstairs, Eli." His knees buckled as he rose, gripping the railing. Each step felt heavier than the last, as though the house was weighing his sins. He reached the landing, and the walls shimmered faintly. Shadows formed human outlines, fragile silhouettes of warmth and light. His family was waiting, not in anger, but expectation. They didn't speak at first. Eli's voice broke the silence like a fracture. "I buried you because I couldn't face what I'd done." His words trembled through the still air. "I thought if I hid the truth, maybe I could erase it." Grace stepped forward, her voice soft as prayer. "You were only a boy, Eli." But Thomas's tone cut through, quiet but firm. "You were our son. You ran instead of helping." Eli's knees buckled, and he fell to the floor, his tears darkening the old boards. "I know," he whispered. "I heard you calling from the water. I froze. I wanted to save you, but I was too afraid." The candlelight flickered wildly. Lila moved closer, placing her small hand on his shoulder, her touch luminous. "Now let it go." The air grew heavier, vibrating with energy that hummed beneath the skin. Eli raised his head, tears glistening. "I tried to forget you," he said, "but I never could. Every day, I heard the crash in my dreams. Every night I saw the road, the headlights, the rain." His voice cracked as he spoke faster, words tumbling out like confessions to a priest. "I was angry, and you followed me. You shouldn't have come after me." Thomas's gaze softened, his tone shifting. "We didn't come for blame. We came because you're still here." Eli frowned. "Still here?" Gracie's whisper answered, "You never left the house, Eli." His chest tightened. The room swayed. The realization hit. He was as much a ghost as they were. His soul had never moved on. Eli staggered to his feet, shaking his head in denial. No, I left this place. I grew up. I built a life." But the walls answered with memories. His voice as a child, his laughter echoing through rooms now empty. He saw flashes. His own funeral, neighbors gathered, whispers about the Mercers' tragedy. His throat tightened as he realized none of it had ever happened. He was still here, trapped in his own guilt, haunting the night of his mistake. Grace stepped forward, cupping his face in her glowing hands. "You can leave now, Eli," she whispered, "but only if you forgive yourself." He closed his eyes, sobbing. "I don't know how." Thomas's voice came from behind, steady, proud. "Start by saying, you're sorry." The words hung in the air like absolution, waiting to be spoken. Eli looked up. His face streaked with tears. His voice barely more than a whisper. "I'm sorry," he said. The moment the words left his lips, the air trembled. Soft at first, then growing until the entire house seemed to exhale. The candles extinguished themselves one by one, replaced by a gentle radiance that poured from the walls. Grace smiled, eyes filled with light. Thomas placed a steady hand on Eli's shoulder, and for the first time there was peace in his gaze. Lila stepped forward, opening her sketchbook. Inside was a drawing. The family together, holding hands beneath a bright sun. "It's time to go home," she said. Eli nodded, his chest breaking open with release. The house shuddered once, then grew still. Outside, the fog began to lift. For the first time in 20 years, the dawn broke. The silence that followed Eli's confession felt alive, vibrating through the walls, through his chest, through the bones of the house itself. He could hear it. The groan of wood, the shifting of beams, the low hum of release. The illusion began to dissolve around him. The once golden light turned pale and cold. Paint flaked from the walls. Candles melted into pools of dark wax. His family's faces shimmered, flickering like reflections in water. "It's ending," Eli whispered. Grace smiled faintly. "No, it's beginning." The words hung in the air, echoing through the hollow halls. Eli stepped forward, reaching out to touch her, but his fingers met only light. Behind him, the walls began to splinter with the slow sound of breaking glass. Dust fell from the ceiling like snow. The house was crumbling, not with fury, but with release. Eli stumbled as the floorboards buckled beneath him. The wind howled through shattered windows, carrying whispers of the past. His father's laughter, his mother's lullabies, Lila's song. Each sound collided, blending into something vast and holy. He turned in slow circles, watching decades of guilt lift like ash into the air. The walls peeled away, revealing flashes of the outside world, the road, the storm, the car, overturned in the ditch. He saw himself kneeling beside it, screaming for help, his hands covered in mud and blood. "You stayed," Thomas's voice said softly behind him. "You never left that night." Eli closed his eyes as tears burned down his cheeks. "I know," he whispered. "I know, but I'm ready now." Lightning split the sky outside, casting the house's remains in blinding white light. Eli raised his head, feeling the storm's breath sweep through what was left of his home. The rain began to fall, not from the sky, but from the ceiling, dripping like tears from the beams. Each drop hit the floor with a soft hiss, turning to light on contact. The air pulsed with rhythm, the sound of something sacred unraveling. Grace's voice came through the roar of wind, soft as ever. "The truth sets the soul free." Lila's laughter followed. Pure, melodic. Eli spread his arms wide, letting the rain fall over him. Eyes closed. Face tilted toward the heavens. He didn't resist anymore. He let it all wash away. As the rainlight dimmed, Eli opened his eyes to find himself alone. The voices had gone silent, the house quiet once more. He turned slowly, taking in the ruins, and for the first time, saw beauty in them. What was left of the home no longer felt haunted. It felt forgiven. He knelt beside the cracked floor where his family's remains had lain and pressed his hand to the wood. The boards were warm now, pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. He whispered, "Thank you." From somewhere unseen, a final whisper answered, "You were never alone." The light shifted, turning golden. Dust danced upward like ascending souls, and Eli felt his chest lighten, as though the house had taken his burden and released it to the wind. The first true morning in 20 years unfolded over the valley. The storm had passed. The air smelled of pine and earth, fresh and alive. Eli stepped out through what remained of the front door, his boots sinking into the wet soil. Behind him, the old Mercer house stood silent, its walls crumbling, its windows shattered, yet bathed in golden light. He turned once more, eyes lingering on the place that had been both his prison and his penance. "Goodbye," he murmured. The wind stirred, carrying the faint echo of a child's laughter through the trees. Eli smiled through his tears. For the first time since that night, he felt light, unbound, forgiven, whole. Then he walked toward the rising sun, leaving footprints that glowed faintly before fading into the earth. The road stretched before him like a memory reborn, slick with dew, glimmering beneath the first rays of sun. Eli walked slowly, his every step deliberate, unburdened. The forest breathed again, its pines whispering in soft wind. For the first time in 20 years, he could hear life. Birds calling, branches creaking, a stream murmuring nearby. He glanced back once more. The Mercer house was gone. Only the empty clearing remained, blanketed in morning fog. A weight lifted from his chest. His family wasn't haunting him anymore. They were guiding him forward. As he walked, a warmth spread through him, faint but steady, like sunlight finding its way through a storm that had lasted far too long. A few miles down the road, Eli reached the bridge that overlooked the river, the same river where the accident had happened. He stopped, resting his hands on the cold railing. The water below shimmered silver under the sun, flowing endlessly onward. His reflection looked back at him, older, gentler, at peace. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, softly, he spoke. "I remember now, all of it. And I forgive you, Eli." The words broke something inside him, not pain, but release. The wind answered with a low hum, carrying faint echoes of his mother's laughter, his father's deep voice, and Lila's song. He closed his eyes and smiled. He reached into his pocket and pulled out Lila's sketchbook, the one that had guided him through the night. It was whole again, untouched by flame or decay. The pages were blank, save for one new drawing. A house bathed in sunlight, a family standing in front, holding hands. Eli traced the lines with his fingertips, his throat tightening with quiet wonder. "She finished it," he whispered. He placed the sketchbook on the bridge's stone ledge, letting the wind lift its pages. One by one, they fluttered free and drifted downstream. White leaves carried by forgiveness. He watched until the last page vanished around the bend, knowing the past had finally found its rest. The sun climbed higher, painting the world in gold. Eli stepped off the bridge and followed the dirt path toward town, the same path he'd walked as a boy. Each step felt new, yet familiar, as though time itself had folded back to give him another chance. The birds sang above, their calls echoing through the valley. He thought of his family not with sorrow but with warmth. Their voices, their laughter, their love that had endured even in death. The guilt that once anchored him had transformed into gratitude. He realized karma hadn't punished him. It had healed him, piece by piece, until only truth remained. By midday, Eli reached the edge of the forest, where the land opened wide to rolling hills, and the first glimpse of civilization in the distance. He stopped and turned one last time. The wind moved through the trees behind him, whispering softly, almost like words. He smiled, tears slipping silently down his cheeks. "Thank you," he said to the air, "for waiting." Then he took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders, and walked toward the horizon. The screen of his life faded not to black, but to light, pure and endless, as though the world itself had exhaled his name one final time.